It's Saturday. Every Saturday, coffee and crypto, 11 a.m. Here we are, boys. We've made it. We made it to another Saturday. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think that I'd get through this week. It was touch and go there for a minute. It was touch and go. Just a lot going on, boys. But, we're here. We've made it. I haven't even looked at prices today, so we're going to go over the price charts, what's going on. Kind of get my head in the right space to understand exactly where crypto is right now. Bitcoin is up at 48,717. It is down overall from the daily on yesterday's candle. But I mean, brand new day. We still have 9 hours left before we have a daily close for Bitcoin. So approximately 8 o'clock EST. Well, not approximately, exactly 8 o'clock EST is when we will have a market close, and then go on from there. So market close every day at 8 o'clock. On the weekly, if we take a look at the weekly chart, and we'll take a look at the bull market support band to, again, see where we are. Are we still bullish, or are we a little bit bearish? Now, again, I still reserve the right to be bullish until we hit $52,000 Bitcoin, but I have to admit that this is looking pretty bullish. Now, there are a lot of people that were saying that, hey, in September, which September is right around the corner, approximately 3 days, we're going to have a market peak. How's it going, Natural? How's it going, man? Good morning, afternoon. Yeah, I guess it's like kind of on that like middle ground, 11 in the morning, right? So, but I have coffee. I sleep in the morning on Saturdays. I don't get many opportunities to sleep in on the weekdays. So it's morning for me. So right now we do see like a bullish, a bullish trend for Bitcoin. We are continuously going up, but a lot of people were still saying that we would see that market peak in September. And again, I would just like to say that, the people that think that we're going to see a market peak in September, if it does happen, if we do see a market peak in September, that makes it very easy to predict crypto. I mean, it'll be very easy for us. My thesis will change on how I invest. I'll basically drop a bunch of money on the halvening, wait for it to go up, sell in September, right? So I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think this is going to just end in September. September is traditionally like a poor month for crypto too. So it'd be interesting to see if it does hit a market peak of like 150 or 100,000 even in September. We're not that far away from people saying that. However, what I do think that we're going to see is a longer market cycle. But, I get that I'm on the minority of things for saying that. In terms of some news, we'll talk about this piece of news. So I actually like this a lot. So the U.S. have put a lot of restrictions over Cuba in over decades. And we've seen that by like the older cars that they drive. They've duct taped these cars. They've done whatever they could. They don't even make parts physically for these cars anymore. But they managed to jerry-rig the cars because of all the lack of being just like ousted from the global market. So really they couldn't buy new cars. They were just stuck in a specific time where the Cuban Missile Crisis happened and everything was shut down for Cuba. So to see that and to understand how they worked with the internet too, because they had like pirating is a whole nother deal. There was this great documentary about how people in Cuba got their movies, how they got their media and everything else. And basically they would come in on hard drives and they would swap these hard drives. They would share the hard drives. They'd, swap them around. They'd sell them. There's a huge market to sell this media that came from, North America, came from Canada, the States, from England, wherever this media was coming from, whether it be movies, TV shows, news, anything. They would all run it through this, and then they'd have their own internal internet, right? So it was really like isolated for Cuba. So to see Cuba taking a stance, because they're looking at regulating cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for the country, for Cuba to take this stance, it really makes a lot of sense for a country like this, given their history, given how many times they've been basically shut out from the global market. Well, now they're going to own Bitcoin. They're going to have Bitcoin. They're going to have regulations for Bitcoin. This is going to do huge things for Cuba's economy, for Cuba's people. Whether or not you agree, what happened back in the day, I guess it is what it is. But I think at the end of it, obviously Bitcoin is going to be a huge savior for an economy like Cuba. So big things there. I mean, like, and this also goes into going back into, having more countries accepting Bitcoin and accepting blockchain, because if they do accept blockchain, then at that point, other countries are going to want to get in. We see the World Bank, having issues with cryptocurrency and blockchain. So I think this is another strong step to move forward within the crypto space, making it go way more mainstream. And of course, El Salvador is a much bigger player in terms of this, because of the lack of tension between El Salvador and some of the first world. I wouldn't even know if Cuba is anything but first world. I guess they might be, but either way, I think this is good for Cuba, good for the country. Hopefully this sparks some other countries to fall in line, because I think more countries like Cuba, specifically if I'm referencing like countries that I'm associated with, like specifically I'm Lebanese. So I would like to see Lebanon actually get onto cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, especially with the destabilization of their money. So I think it's hugely valuable for any country that needs to uprise outside of a poor regime or anything like that. So definitely huge news for Cuba. Good for them. I think that'll be good in the long term. So Bitcoin's price analyst. So okay, so this is an analyst. So Bitcoin reclaims a critical level and is okay. So we've talked about 50K, right? And we've talked about how we bounced up. We're gonna go to the charts for this one. So with 50K, we got rejected at our 50,000, right? If we look back to the daily chart, so I know we switched over to the weekly, back to the daily. So we talked about how 50,000 won. 50,000 is an emotional barrier, because 50,000 is a nice round number, beautiful round number, and people just want to hit it, right? I know that sounds really stupid, but that's actually reality, because when you look into markets, whether it be equities, whether it be metals or whatever, all markets are based off human emotion. A prime example of that is the tulip explosion, the tulip bubble. Essentially, people just thought tulips had value, and they just kept going up and up and up. And all the people that were professional tulip growers and tulip sellers kept saying to people, tulips can only go up. And everyone had that sentiment of tulips can only go up. The market literally crashed in a day, right? So in a day, they stopped selling tulips for the price that it was supposed to be going for. And then the price started just dropping. So what people would do is go to other towns that didn't know the price was dropping yet and sell off their wares in other towns, try to get rid of their tulips before the crash. So, when you realize how markets work, you realize that it's all based on human emotion. So yes, hitting a $50,000 mark is going to be a very emotional barrier for us to hit. Now, obviously, we went past it. We got rejected. We came back down. We will retest it. We will come back to that emotional barrier again. But for now, we're just getting down in this area. And I'm fine with Bitcoin just trading level. Bitcoin trading level is really good for the most part, because what it's doing there is it's reclaiming some support at these levels. So again, this line of support that we drew in our previous video here, this line of support is basically drawn because it's gaining more support above that line. So the longer it's above this line, the more support it holds at around 46.5, and the less of a chance it'll go lower. But most likely we will see it go up back above that 50,000. So let's take a look at exactly what they're talking about in this article. BTC has managed to find a local bottom at 46.3. And remains at 40. Okay. So this is one thing that happened. We do see a liquidation of shorts. And here's my advice for anyone doing any, and I can't assume that anyone's doing longing or any sort of trading like that. For anyone that is doing long trades or anything like that, if you're doing future trades, which I've dabbled in before, my general rule is I don't short. I don't short at all. I only go long, and I don't go long in bearish times, right? So those are literally my only rules. I don't short, and I only go long in or I don't go long in bearish times. So basically, I don't trade leverage in bearish times. And when we did see that drop, that big capitulation down, this is exactly when I stopped leverage trading, because I'd hop in at this low thinking, okay, well, it's going to bounce back up. And it looked like it might bounce back up, but it didn't. And we just dropped lower and lower and people got liquidated. These little candles, we're not going to see much liquidations out of these candles, but we will see liquidations, especially people that are way over leveraged than they should be. You know, like doing a 20x Bitcoin or something. It could be furious, but Bitcoin can move fast in a day. Bitcoin can move a lot. If you're thinking, you know, I'm going to get into this long, there's no way Bitcoin's going to go down below 46,000 in a day. Bitcoin can easily go below 46,000 in one day. That's not hard for Bitcoin to do. Third largest BTC whale is back. So I think they're just compiling a bunch of stuff that has happened, which I guess kind of makes sense. Yeah, there are some Bitcoin whales still in play. Something specifically that I talked about is there are more stable coin reserves on exchanges right now, which is a huge bullish indicator for long term what's going to happen. Because obviously more money's on the exchanges, more money's be ready to be put into cryptocurrency. And if you look at, I can't remember his full name. I remember his first name, Ju. He's the CEO of CryptoQuant. And he basically said is more people are looking to buy USD, buy United States dollars, but they're not going through things like money markets. They're not going through banks or anything to go exchange their fiat. They're putting their fiat onto crypto exchanges and then buying stablecoins or buying stablecoins some way and holding stablecoins. And that kind of makes sense when people are doing that, especially if they want to get out of their native currencies and they want to get into a US backed currency, which is a stablecoin, USDC, USDT. So a lot of these countries that are now recognizing that their money is pretty destable, they want to get into currencies like that, they are able to get into fairly easy. But what's that do, right? If you actually think about that, what does that do? Having all these people all of a sudden having access to all of these stable coins, they're all on the blockchain, they're on a crypto exchange, trading crypto such as Bitcoin, and they're just holding stable coins. Do you think that they're not going to just dabble, right? Buy a little bit of Bitcoin here and there, buy a little bit of Ethereum. So there is money that's going to trickle in, and it's money typically from areas in the world that are very destable in their monetary policy. So it's going to be very bullish people coming into the market. Probably at the right time too, because I do think, like I've said before, I do think we're in store for a little bit of a longer market cycle than we've seen. And I think it's going to be an increase, but I don't think it's going to be as dramatic of an increase as 2017. But I do think we're in for a good rise. And I think those people that'll see some gains over the next year will basically understand exactly what this is in terms of an investment strategy and how this could be used to work for them, especially if they live through another market dip and another crash. I feel like crashes specifically are very important for everyone to go through at least once. Because it hardens you. It makes you realize that you just don't sell because, you know, everything's scary and dark, or Bitcoin's, you know, going to go to zero. It gets you out of that mindset and recognizes, okay, this is a dip. This is a bad dip, but we're going to live. We're going to live to fight another day. I think that's the biggest thing. So I think people getting in now, getting to experience a bull run and getting to see a market crash is going to be very useful for future market cycles. And again, for me too, I'm not in this for this market cycle. It's not going to make me like super rich. I'm not going to be a multimillionaire or anything this cycle if we go to some crazy levels. I'll be a lot better off than what I was when I first got into crypto. I mean, I had like basically nothing in savings, some equities, nothing crazy. And went into crypto and you know, I now have a decent nest egg. It's a modest nest egg for my age, which is nice. So crypto's done a lot for me. I think crypto's going to do a lot for the people that are struggling in this world as well. Wyckoff D. So I don't know. We talked about Wyckoff before. I don't know much about Wyckoff formations after the fact. And by the way, guys, there are 9 viewers here. Only 3 likes. Help a brother out. It's a Saturday in the morning. coffee and crypto. So we've talked about Wyckoff before, and I'll pull up the Bitcoin chart again so we could talk about Wyckoff. So Wyckoff is, for people that don't know, Wyckoff is a manipulation strategy used by hedge funds and big banks to essentially manipulate markets. It was discovered by a guy named Wyckoff back sometime in the 1900s. I can't remember exactly when. I want to say 1920s, but I'm not too sure. He wrote a whole book about the strategy. What the Wyckoff appearance has shown up numerous times. There's Wyckoff distributions, then there's Wyckoff accumulations. So Wyckoff accumulations would be obviously down below if in a market dip. Wyckoff distributions is keeping the price high. Sorry about that. Keeping the price high for people to get out at a high price and then get in at a lower price, right? Which is essentially how this whole top played out. And this is why I don't think that we hit a market peak. Now, if you look at how crypto was far out of pace from other market cycles. And I'll actually show you that here with the weekly chart. If we take a look at the weekly chart, and sorry if this is getting too into the weeds about Wyckoff, but I feel like this is an important idea to understand. So if we look at 2017, okay, you look at the lowest part of 2017. If we go and grab a bar pattern from the lowest part of 2017, so right here, so this is our bar for 2017, okay? If we match this up to the lowest part of our market now, right? So we match that up to the lowest part of the market now. So if you take a look at that, what do you see? You see 2 points where the market was past the 2017 bull market, where the market was beating out that 2017 bull market. One of them was here, right? So right here. And then one of them was this right here, right? And that right there is our Wyckoff, right? That was our Wyckoff distribution, right? So a lot of good news, a lot of bullish news happened right around here, and Bitcoin just flew past where we were in 2017 at that same mark. Flew past it and then just stopped out hard there. Way overextended to what it should be. So, you know, if you look at it that way, you understand, okay, this market has been different fundamentally than all other markets before. It's outpaced 2017 not once but twice. Now we're under 2017. Where are we going to go? A lot of people think that we're just going to hit a market peak here in September. I mean, like, it's a non-negligible chance that can happen, but most likely what we're going to see is more of a movement like this, right? And then go up sometime into 2022. That's what I think. That's basically, well, that's a shitty line, but you get my drift. We're gonna end sometime in 2022, sometime here, maybe like not as high as we think, but that's probably more in line of what we're gonna see than just seeing a market peak like right here, right? So that's my opinion at least. So we did see that Wyckoff distribution. Now we are seeing a Wyckoff accumulation. I don't know. I don't know enough about the formations to totally get it. Yeah, I mean, like, next dip, you might as well, right? And, like, I dollar cost average. I'm not buying anything right now. So, what I did is essentially it was dollar costing Bitcoin. And for everyone, I was saying this openly in the channel. I was dollar costing Bitcoin. And let me just get back here. I was dollar cost averaging the second that we went down on this dip. The second that we got below a $50,000 Bitcoin, I started buying. So I was buying at 46,000. I bought again down at 34, and then I basically bought daily. I set up daily payments every single day throughout this whole thing, this whole stretch, and then I stopped buying Bitcoin when we got above $40,000. When we got above this valley, that's when I stopped buying. And that's proven to be a good decision for me. And I told everyone else that when we're below, say, the 50-week moving average, that's always proven to be a good decision to buy cryptocurrency. Whether or not this was Wyckoff and manipulation bringing the market down, which it clearly is, whether or not that was a thing, it just doesn't matter. Let me just pull up the 50-day really quick. I don't think this is an actual indicator. This is weird. It just says 200-day, but I can't change it. Let me just get an indicator and just get an SMA out. We're going to be actually going through some TA basics for some people. So anyone that doesn't like understand like SMA and like the standard things that we have here, I'll be going through that in a video. So definitely subscribe for more of that information. So anytime that we've found ourselves at a point where we're below, say, the 50-week moving average has been a good buying point. And I don't think this is the right indicator. Bear with me here. Okay. Anyway, when we are below it, in those cases, it's always proven to be a good buying opportunity. We were below it here where the market dipped back when COVID was announced. We were below it here with this big dip back in 2019. And then again, it happened at some points in 2017. It's always proven that if you buy below the 50-week moving average, that you're going to do well going forward. So that was my strategy, at least. I saw it that low. I saw it struggling with indicators. I saw it below a lot of indicators, and I was like, okay, well, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. How low can it go? And I realistically was thinking maybe 23, 25K was probably the lowest it could go, and I don't think we didn't even come close to seeing that. Now, that being said, I don't think we'll ever see a Bitcoin sub 20K ever again in my life. I could be completely wrong by saying that, but I don't think that's going to happen. So in terms of where Bitcoin's heading next, I think 50K is an obvious answer. I definitely think we're going to hit 50K. I think we need to get past 52,000 before anything. But they are saying that in this article specifically, they are saying that they're looking at 50K as a benchmark to hit. And, you know, again, if you're looking at this from like a long-term perspective, where Bitcoin's going to go in the long term, 10 to 15, 20 years, this isn't going to matter. None of this really matters in the long grand scheme of things, especially with future halvings coming out and everything else. In Cardano news, they're looking at testing a bug on the Alonzo testnet before the rollout. So they're trying to get that rolling out. Charles did make a brief update, and we'll go ahead and listen to that here, so bear with me a moment.
And broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Very briefly, I want to do an update about Alonzo and where we're at. So earlier today, we had the go, no-go meeting where we looked at all of the infrastructure and if we're ready to clip the mainnet candidate and begin the process of a gradual upgrade. We had the meeting and it is a go. So the process is as follows. We're going to go ahead and initiate an HFC event. We've already done so on the testnet. Testnet will be in Alonzo stage. This is not one of those specialty testnets like Purple and all these other things. This is the primary testnet that we use for exchanges and all the other people and normal things. And that's going to go ahead and go through that process. I believe that testnet is going to roll over September 1st. Now, we got a little bit of cleanup we got to do on the weekend to make sure everything's in line with the latest version of DB Sync. I think we may have corrected that rewards bug in DB Sync as well. I have to get some verification on that. But all infrastructure looks green and go, or will be green and go by the end of the weekend. And then when that rolls over on the Alonzo testnet, then basically it's going to sit there until the update proposal is done, and I think they're going to clip that on September 9th, and it's going to roll over September 12th on Sunday. So, long and short is, we are on schedule. Things are looking good. There's a few bugs here and there that are minor, a few little quality things here and there that are minor, and we'll clean those things up. Some can be cleaned up before the launch. Some are going to be done in the following node launches. We have about a 2-week cadence on the node. And when you do a mainnet candidate, you have to stop all development and say there's just bug fixing there, no new features. And that's where we were at a few weeks ago. So it's going to be probably a rather uneventful rollover, knock on wood. It looks like that. We're pretty happy about it. And everything is on schedule for the 12th. Big milestone today, the go, no-go decision. Had we said no-go, it would have pushed us back by 5 days, and the 12th would have turned to the 17th.
So it's nice to see at least some direction here, and we're going through. I've heard about 8x. So 8x, I believe, and we'll pull that up actually, because 8x, I believe, was one of the first protocols that were instituting smart contracts. I think I briefly talked about it in a video. So what is 8x? It's a Cardano DEX. It's going to be one of the first ones. So we've talked about things like Sunday Swap and everything else. And a lot of people have issues with like food dexes, right? And I get it, because like the marketing isn't like as professional as what people would want. 8x is a little bit of a different thing. So they have the Cardano ERC20 converter. I believe that Cardano's working on their ERC20 smart contracts right now. So this is all, it looks like it's a bridge. I could be wrong in saying that this is a DEX. Yeah, no. It is a DEX. So it's a DEX bridge and everything. So it's kind of, okay. I get it. So it's an all-in-one package. So this could actually be something to keep in your mindset. I just spilled coffee all over my pants, boys. All over my pants. So, Joe, how's it going? Just jumped in. Based on your analysis for smoothing average, what would be the best price to get? So it's hard. We can take a look at individual what those prices are. I mean, like my position's always been, if you don't have a coin, right, you want to buy it. But it definitely depends on each individual coin. Like, for example, if you look at XRP now, XRP is huge. XRP pumped over the last couple of weeks. So would I be buying XRP now? That's hard to say, right? Just a few weeks ago, it was at 62 cents. And my dollar cost average, see, it's hard as well for me, because my dollar cost average for XRP is like 23 cents. Same with Cardano. I think my dollar cost average is relatively small. But I would just say small dollar cost averages just to fill out your position. Don't worry about where the smooth moving average is. And just get more aggressive as things dip down, as things go lower. So if Cardano, for example, dips down, say below $2 for whatever reason, that's a huge buying signal for Cardano. Same with XRP. If you see XRP dip down, if you see Ethereum dip down, Ethereum, like I'm a firm believer that Ethereum's going to do well. We have an article actually about Ethereum too, and how it's deflationary. Actually, we'll pull that up since we talked about Cardano, Alonzo smart contracts. Ethereum is becoming deflationary in essence. Well, it's becoming. It's not deflationary yet, but the inflation is falling, right? So the new Bitcoin or the new Ethereum coming into the market is getting less and less and less because of the London hard fork. So that being said, Ethereum is going to be at a much higher price now in like by the end of the year, by the end of say 2022, than it is now, right? $3,200 Ethereum is probably nothing. If we do see say a market crash, say we see a market peak of Ethereum hits 10 to 20K hypothetically, I probably would estimate that it's going to crash down to around this level, right? So around this level is an okay time just to start DCAing if you don't already have a position. Polkadot, though, I would be going really heavy into Polkadot because it hasn't gained as much as Cardano and XRP. And some people would be like, oh, why would you do that? Cardano's obviously the best pick, or XRP is obviously the best pick because they're higher right now. And that's not how I look at things. I look at, okay, is the blockchain good? Yes. Did the blockchain pump? Well, it hasn't pumped as much as other blockchains. Do I think it should be pumping as much as ADA? I personally do. I'm very bullish on the Polkadot system, and it's not even a fraction of its price. Like, we're still at lows of February, right? We're still at February highs. So being at this price for Polkadot, I'd probably be taking a more aggressive stance to fill my Polkadot bags over my Cardano, over ETH, over XRP, because I see more growth potential in Polkadot right now. And also there's the whole aspect of the Sharpe ratio and portfolio theory of identifying how much risk you want to take in comparison to maybe stable risk. So for example, XRP is a little bit more volatile than any other token, right? And we see that with the general chart. Like if you look at the XRP chart, it's no question that XRP is one of the most volatile cryptocurrencies. So in turn, it comes with more risk, but possibly more ROI. So if you want a more risky portfolio with a higher potential ROI, you can go with more XRP. If you want a safer portfolio with maybe a less ROI, you want to go with all in Bitcoin, right? And basically you balance this out. So you have your Bitcoin, you have your Ethereum, and then you have like XRP, Litecoin, and everything else. I can't really say Cardano, and I can't really say Polkadot, and I can't say really any other tokens because they don't have enough trading data to really show us what the ROI is going to be. So we realistically don't know. All of that is, in my opinion, speculation. But that being said, there is value in dollar cost averaging at these points. But I know that's a very long-winded answer, but I just don't know if I would reference off of a smooth moving average to identifying my buying points. Although, like when we did see us below the 50-week moving average, at that point, yeah, it was absolutely time to buy Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies. So everyone made out like a bandit there. I think those are just like individual dips and indicators that you can watch out for and be like super aggressive on your buying. Which is exactly what I was doing. But I haven't dollar cost averaged Bitcoin basically since 2020. I don't think I've dollar cost averaged Bitcoin like outside of like October. I really don't. So all of the Bitcoin that I have right now is basically like from shaking my shake pay, which I hope I am still on my streak. So shaking my shake pay and my dollar cost average just recently. So I'm just gonna shake that bad boy right now. I missed my streak. Good for me. Hex and Pulse chain. I don't know a lot about Hex and Pulse. That would be why. And I'm not smart, but I think you're probably just saying that so I look into Hex and Pulse. But that being said, so Ethereum is like the inflation rate. So the new Ethereum coming into the market is going down, right? And now we do have new Bitcoin going into the market with Bitcoin mining and everything else. And the same thing happens with Ethereum, but it is going down. And we are looking at potentially having an Ethereum that is more deflationary in the long run. It's not deflationary now. But when you look at Ethereum, and I think it was Tyler Winklevoss that said this, it could have been Cameron, but I think it was Tyler. He was in an interview talking about what's more valuable. Is it the store of gold? Is it Bitcoin, that brick of gold? Or is it the internet, right? And when you look at it like that, okay, I can kind of see where he's getting. Now, he's kind of reaching a little bit, and I'll give it that. But Ethereum does fundamentally so many more things than what Bitcoin does. Now, Bitcoin is going to get the Taproot system, so there is going to be that. And that is going to bring smart contracts to Bitcoin. But right now, there's already an ecosystem on Ethereum. It's like asking all these great developers to go back a generation in technology and build on the backup generation because, hey, we just got some features that you're currently using, not all of them. Come on over, right? That's not how that's going to work. More developers are going to stay with Ethereum, and then they're going to upgrade to better blockchains as time goes on. Ethereum's going to maintain a healthy ecosystem. Bitcoin's going to have a healthy ecosystem, but in no way is Bitcoin smart contracts going to even rival close to Ethereum. I think Ethereum's going to have dominance for a long time until a better blockchain kind of takes its spot. But that being said, a lot of investment firms and a lot of banks like Goldman Sachs and a few others have really eyed Ethereum as possibly a better investment long-term, a better store of value than Bitcoin. And that's even with its current inflation rate. And again, Ethereum could become deflationary in the future. So Ethereum could be that golden ticket for a lot of people in the next little while. It could be that new Bitcoin launching. Now, a lot of people, and this is where it gets hard because I've said that Ethereum can hit 20K. I think in a video, I went over someone's chart analysis, technical analysis, discussing how Ethereum could potentially hit 40K, 20K to 40K, which I do actually think is realistic. But people think, okay, Bitcoin went to 20K in 2017. That's obviously where Ethereum's going to get to. And that is not correct, right? Thinking of it that way is not correct because there are a couple of differences there. Number one, when you look at CoinMarketCap and when you go to Ethereum and Bitcoin, if you take a look at both of them, these have two dramatically different token supplies. So for example, the current circulating supply is 117 million tokens for Ethereum, where the current circulating supply for Bitcoin is 18.8 million tokens, right? So there's a lot less Bitcoin in existence than Ethereum, right? So there's that big factor. Two, there's smart contracts involved and everything else. The price going up to 20K isn't because Bitcoin went up to 20K in 2017, because the price depends on the market cap. Because if you look at Bitcoin's market cap in 2017, and we'll go take a look at that really quick. If you look at Bitcoin's market cap in 2017, it wouldn't even be close to what Ethereum's market cap is right now. Let's see. Let's just say, no, we're gonna have market cap. Right, there we go. So our market cap was $286 billion back in 2017, December 10th, 2017. $286 billion. Probably not the peak. Probably is the peak. Currently, the market cap for Ethereum, and we haven't even peaked yet, is $378 billion, right? So over $100 billion more than what the market cap was for Bitcoin in the market peak. That's it right now. So I'm not saying Ethereum's going to hit 20K because Bitcoin hit 20K. That's the wrong way to think about it. Ethereum's going to hit 20K because the system will be valued at 20K based on market cap and current circulating supply of tokens by the end of this market cycle. So that's more in line of what I think will happen. So it is likely that we will see an Ethereum of a high price, but those people saying, well, Ethereum's going to 20K because Bitcoin even went to 20K in 2019. I mean, you're correct and wrong at the same time, right? That's just not how you think about it. It's just not how it works. So it most likely will hit that number because the system can be valued at that price. And that's what you look into. Yeah, so Jeff's asking, you said Ethereum until a better blockchain takes over. Isn't the beauty of Bitcoin? So in terms of Ethereum, now I'm really talking about like the smart contract aspect, and I'm not saying take over as in it's going to, take out massive amounts of developers and interest and everything. I think there's still going to be healthy ecosystems either way. Isn't it the beauty of Bitcoin? Slow, secure with it. So yeah, I think that is the beauty of Bitcoin. So going back to exactly what I was talking about there was about Taproot and how Bitcoin's going to have smart contracts. So Bitcoin will soon have smart contracts, but nobody's going to go and favor Bitcoin over Ethereum unless they're going for what you're saying right there. They're going for that secure, without threat. They know that Bitcoin is this just amoeba out in space, right? And that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is just like Bitcoin doing what Bitcoin does. There's nobody telling Bitcoin to do whatever. It is Bitcoin. It's floating out and being Bitcoin, and it's always going to be Bitcoin, and that is the beauty. Bitcoin's always going to be safe and secure, and this is what I talk about with portfolio theory. If you want just a safe rise, if you just want to be in crypto, you want the minimal amount of risk in cryptocurrency, just buy Bitcoin. That's it. If you want a little bit more risk, buy some Ethereum, but have more Bitcoin than Ethereum. If you want more risk, you can buy more Ethereum than Bitcoin. If you want even more risk, you can start adding some altcoins in there, like really volatile altcoins with long trading histories, like XRP, for example. And if you want extreme risk, you want to add in some altcoins and microcaps and everything else. So, am I still in DeFin? I am still in DeFin. Sorry, I missed your comment up there. I am still in DeFin. I don't have a lot because I moved a lot over to PokeSwap, but I am still in DeFin a little bit. And they're basically just rewards waiting to be uncapped, but I'll most likely enter a little bit more. But Jeff, specifically, like I think at the end of the day, when you look at what I meant about a better blockchain rivaling Ethereum, I was more talking about like potentially Polkadot and potentially Cardano, and not even like Polkadot, maybe more Moonbeam, Polkadot's parachain, because I don't see Polkadot as a direct competitor with Ethereum, even though a lot of people do. Moonbeam is more going to be the ecosystem that's going to have a lot of what Ethereum has today on the Polkadot system. So, hopefully that answered your question. Also, there are 17 viewers in here and only 8 likes, boys. Help a brother out. Really, really appreciate it. But right now the crypto market cap is kind of just trading level, especially at our 2 trillion. We see this over the last couple of days. We've just kind of been stagnant a little bit. We've been going up and down, having that fluctuation between 1.9 and 2 trillion. But there is still a lot of health considering how high we've gone up, because, you know, we're not super fragile, especially after such a big dip here going down in this way. We're not super fragile after this pump up. So we're staying at a good level area, which if the market does just trade level, sorry about that. If the market just does trade level, the longer it trades level like this, the more support it holds at these levels. So if we do see a dip, it's going to hold a little bit more. We see that consistently with Cardano. We've talked about that before. The more Cardano just trades level, the more support it has at these higher levels. So again, every time it gets up here, it got up here, it traded level. For the most part, it did really nothing. Everyone joked about Cardano being a stable coin, but at the end of the deal, it drew that line in the sand of $1 Cardano that it was refusing not to go below. And this is just, in essence, this is what happens in almost every market, unless if human sentiment, if our sentiment drives in. So again, it's all based on human emotion, right? We can instantly have zero trust in something and it goes to zero. We've seen that consistently, again, with my tulip example. The big tulip rise. The second that people don't have trust in something, it's going to go to zero. But ultimately, when you're looking at charts and when you're looking at TA and when you're looking at prices, you got to factor in what support levels and what resistance levels you're fighting with. And then also how much strength you have above support and resistance. And arguably, like, there have been times, like if you look at XRP, for example, XRP never has a lot of support at where it is. Now, I'm bullish on XRP, so I don't want to bring like I don't want you guys to think that I'm super bearish on XRP. And you guys might be, and that's fine. Some people don't like it, but it is more volatile because it's more paper-handed. Like it'll just dip at the first sign of FUD and go right down, and it'll go down viciously because people just don't hold on to it. And that's what happens when you have a more volatile token, but more volatility has more risk, but it also potentially has more reward. So if my thesis is right and XRP does out ROI, say, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm doing pretty good because XRP is a good portion of my portfolio. I'm actually going to be showing not like exact numbers of my portfolio, but I'm actually going to be like showing the percentages holding of my portfolio, why I've made certain decisions over next week. So go ahead and wait for that and check that out when that comes. But overall, it's been a pretty good strategy right now. I mean, like, there's been some cost potential that I've missed out going into XRP, but also when I went into XRP, like, I'm doing really good now. So, like, I think my ROI is kind of similar to Bitcoin. I can go take a look at that right now. Maybe it is because right now XRP is pretty high and Bitcoin's fairly low, considering because Bitcoin was at 63,000. So to give you a perspective, my profit loss, so I am up 242% on my XRP holdings, and I am up 318% on my Bitcoin holdings. So right now Bitcoin is beating out my XRP, which essentially means that I would have been better off just being in Bitcoin right now. But again, this is what happens when you have something that's more volatile. You have more risk. You could potentially have more reward. That's what you have to look at it like. I'm 31 years old. I can take that amount of risk at this age. It's not going to terribly damn me in the future. So Cardano is launching the Ethereum ERC20 converter on the testnet shortly. I believe they did some testing on this. I know that Charles had tweeted out about this a little earlier ago. It looks like he mentioned it in the live stream that we probably just watched, probably that one. Oh no, sorry, back in July 2020. So now he does say this, which is a pretty, I don't know if I completely agree that this is going to happen. We will see a migration, but I don't think we're going to see like a huge exodus from, say, Ethereum smart contracts to Cardano, not right away. Maybe gradually over time as the system's built up and as everything goes up. But I'm a little skeptical. That being said, I'm more bullish on Cardano than Ethereum, and I'm more bullish on Polkadot than both of them. But people will be able to move liquidity or be able to move their utility tokens to use applications that are migrating over to from Ethereum to Cardano. I don't think a lot of applications are going to migrate to Cardano right away because they're so solidified on Ethereum. I think there are a lot of areas that will probably just like increase functionality to work with both Cardano and Ethereum. I think that's way more realistic than seeing a mass exodus of services going from Ethereum to Cardano. So, but either way, having the ERC20 converter is good for those projects that are starting out on the ERC20 and waiting for a proper home for their blockchains. So obviously for those areas and for those projects, those are going to move over pretty seamlessly to Cardano or Polkadot or whatever they're going to go to. So there is going to be value. Obviously, like Cardano is going to be a huge player in the space, but I see where Cardano is targeting in traditionally unbanked areas and bringing DeFi and cryptocurrency assets to the regular unbanked people of the world. I think that's going to be incredibly valuable, but I don't think that's going to be at the same area as Ethereum. For example, I can see realistically in the next 5 years, I can see realistically Ethereum possibly flipping Bitcoin. I can see that. I can't see Cardano being number one in the near term. And by near term, I'm talking like 5 years. Maybe longer. Who knows? I mean, in 5 years, this top 10 list is going to look way different than what we see it as now. And same with 20 years. This top 10 list is going to be extremely different. So I guess we wait and see. We find out exactly what's going to happen. But that's that is what it is. I think maybe that's a little contentious depending on what other people think, because I know some people think that, let's say, Cardano is going to be number one, or some people think that something else is going to be number one. I think Bitcoin's going to hold number one for quite a while until finally Ethereum potentially takes it over. Even if we do see a flippening, and $600 billion would be all that it would take to flip Ethereum and Bitcoin, which is a lot of money. So nothing to scoff at. Definitely, I often say $100 billion isn't a lot of money, which it really isn't. $600 billion, it's a nice chunk of change, right? The market cap for all of crypto is $2.1 trillion, to put that in perspective. So it's a good chunk of the total crypto market cap. But when you look at money supply in the world, 600 billion isn't that much. It's not a lot. When you have gold being $11.5 trillion market cap, the stock market is at $115 trillion. 600 billion isn't a lot. But for 600 billion to just go in Ethereum and not Bitcoin, that's a lot. That's a lot to go into just one blockchain, and I don't think that'll happen. But if we do see a flippening, I think it'll be for a very short period of time where Ethereum pumps above Bitcoin. Maybe after Bitcoin is pumped all the way to its all-time high and then crashes down, and then Ethereum goes on the pump afterwards, I could see a flippening there, for maybe a couple of days, if not maybe a week. But I don't think that'll be a long-term thing in the near term. Maybe eventually we could see it. Going back to what the Winklevoss twins were saying is basically, what's more valuable, the brick of gold or the internet with gold attached? And when you look at it from that perspective, you kind of see the value of Ethereum because of the smart contract aspect and everything else. Ethereum seems a little bit more valuable, especially if we get into a deflationary stance for Ethereum. That's going to be huge. Right now, it's big because we've lowered the rate of inflation for Ethereum, and that alone is going to be huge. Because the increase of price is just going to go higher because we have less Ethereum being minted into the system. So, sorry, just some throat issues here, but whew, there we go. But right now we are sitting at a $48,000 Bitcoin. Everything's kind of like dipping a little bit. No, not really. We're down 4% on the day. We still have 8 hours left on the day, so still plenty of hours left. Everything's holding a good price right now. Cardano's sitting at $1.82. XRP is sitting at $1.14. Ethereum's still at $3,200, which is fantastic for Ethereum. Again, Ethereum just like pumped up and basically held, so good for that. KSM's actually surprising, being at 301, because I thought it'd be below 300, but it's still holding pretty well after its increase. Now, again, it's still not at the price that I famously said that we'll never see it below again, so not at $400, which, here we go, foot in my mouth. And Polkadot is at $25. I stopped buying Polkadot again at like $17, $18, I think. So I'm not buying any more Polkadot now, but I mean, it hasn't increased a lot. If we look back, we're looking at lows back from May and then back in February. So I would say Polkadot is still a buy if you're bullish on the system. So wouldn't be overly worried. And then obviously we're sitting at a $2.1 trillion crypto market cap right now. But again, just to recap some things that we discussed. So we were talking about how Cuba specifically, and you know, to get back on this topic, Cuba and other countries that have traditionally been outside of the global market playground, right? Cuba was obviously cut off from global economics for a long time through embargoes and through restrictions from the United States and other countries, basically forcing them to do things like jerry-rig their cars. Like I think Cuban cars were more duct tape than anything for a good amount of time. And with that, that idea, they learned how to do things internally within the country. So they had their own intranet, right? So it was an internal internet within Cuba. They would smuggle in hard drives full of media from other countries to share amongst everyone. They'd do these big hard drive drops, and they'd basically share information and share these movies, share TV shows, whatever, with everyone else. So there's this whole other world in Cuba, and now they're embracing cryptocurrency and trying to recognize cryptocurrencies, which is going to be hugely bullish for for cryptocurrencies, obviously, but it's going to be good for Cuba and Cuba's economy, because Cuba's obviously been kind of downtrodden. Whether, you know, I mean, like, whether the restrictions were valid back in the day, yeah, that is a whole different conversation for really a whole different generation than us. But right now, you can see why a country like Cuba would really embrace something like cryptocurrencies, because you can see where that would go. It's funny. It's funny seeing this, right? China's central bank official says cryptocurrencies have no actual value. And it's really funny seeing this, because really this is fiat currencies. Nothing has value in essence. Even gold, right? Even gold only has value because we trust that it has value. I mean, it's scarce too, which kind of helps out, but you definitely trust that it has value. I think in general, there's going to be a lot of regulatory crackdowns for a lot of cryptocurrencies, not only just in terms of miners, but you're also going to look at that with exchanges and everything else. So being regulatory compliant is a good strategy for most cryptocurrencies to adhere to. And doing that is going to do well. Now, I'm not a big fan of buying mining stocks like Hut 8. Hut 8 is done fantastic. Okay, I'm not going to say anything wrong with it. If you're in Hut 8, great, good for you. But I don't buy Bitcoin mining stocks, just like I don't buy gold mining stocks. I buy physical gold, and I buy Pax gold. I buy Bitcoin, or I buy Bitcoin ETFs in my TFSA. I don't buy a mining stock. If I want stock, I go with FANG, right? Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, and Netflix. That's my investment thesis for equities. I mean, that'll grow, I'm sure. I'll take more risk with equities later on. But right now, I'm just so focused on cryptocurrencies, and I'm about like, I want to say 10% in equities and closer to 90% in cryptocurrencies right now. I'd probably say what I'm doing right now probably makes a lot of people like sick to their stomach, thinking, oh, 90% in cryptocurrencies, Jesus. But that's where I am. So. But yeah, I think he's right, and I think you're right in saying that regulations are going to be a big damning factor for a lot of cryptocurrencies and a lot of miners and everything else. You see that with China specifically. So China banned crypto. Now, it is a fine line between having regulations and then stifling innovation. So I think that's something that the Canadian government needs to have a good perspective on. Will they have a good perspective on it? I don't know. It's still yet to be seen. I mean, we're not going to be nearly as bad as the United States with some of their stuff. Like they have the BIT license in New York and everything. Like Wyoming is arguably probably one of the few states that are actually doing something of value in terms of crypto regulations. But for Canada, we haven't done anything like super concerning. Like the OSC is kind of cracking down on some exchanges, but if you look at like what Binance is doing, what KuCoin is doing, I mean, arguably they were probably out of regulations before because there are a lot of healthy Canadian exchanges still operating in the space, still working with regulators, working with the OSC. So there's a lot there. It's a lot of moving parts when you're talking about regulations, mining companies, cryptocurrencies, and mainly because it's all just so new, right? Like this is all just new technology, and we have no idea where this is going to go or what regulations that we need. And a lot of our regulators are just older people that don't understand the technology, and it just is what it is, right? The only thing that we can do is hope that regulators really get their right hats on, or we actually get involved and get into politics and get into some of these regulations, or just make our voices heard and talk to our representatives of our areas. But I really think that the government needs to take a fostering approach rather than a restrictive approach, because I think that way it'll at least put Canada and other countries in a better position if we're fostering innovation with cryptocurrency. It's the same thing with the internet. The internet was basically given free reign. There's only a select amount of countries that actually tried to rein in the internet, one being China. And arguably they weren't able to do it for the longest time until finally they got their great firewall of China. So until they had their amazing firewall that they have now, they really had no control over anything, because all it took was downloading a program and then boom, you had access to the whole internet in China, which doesn't exist today. So unless countries take a stance like that, I don't think we're going to be in some serious trouble. But I do think miners do need to be cautious and careful. But at the end of the day, when you see miners, say in Saskatchewan, hydro costs are generally low. I don't know if they're the lowest, but I'd probably speculate that they're probably the lowest in the country. Maybe you're probably going to get lower in East Coast. I'm not quite sure. If you look at like Ontario, we have some of the most energy production outside of like say Alberta, but we have like nuclear power plants, we have Niagara Falls and everything else, but we also pay the highest hydro cost, so it's not feasible to say mine here. So mining in say Saskatchewan at that point is going to be better for you, and hopefully you can dance around regulations. I wouldn't be too worried about someone like Hut 8. A company like Hut 8 is really like focused a lot on making everything profitable. Like they have a company, and then they're focused on their stockholders and everything else. So they're going to make sure that they're adhering to regulations. So yes, it's a concern, but I'd assume that they have a team of regulators on that committee to kind of help out and smooth things over. Have any Canadian political parties made any comments about crypto? I don't know in favor or not in favor of. I haven't taken a look at anyone's stances on cryptocurrency specifically, but I would argue that all of them are probably very oblivious to what restrictions or what political ideologies we need for cryptocurrencies. Like I don't trust, say, the current liberal government to understand cryptocurrencies that well. I don't trust the Conservative Party as well. And frankly, I don't even think I would trust the NDP, even though it's of a younger minority. So it's difficult because I think it's just so new that I don't think many regulators actually understand what cryptocurrency is. Crypto Canadian political parties. And like this is difficult too because you don't always want to look at what somebody says as a good ideology. Because somebody could say that they're pro-Bitcoin and then obviously not be pro-Bitcoin. I would love to see. Yeah. So I'm not finding anything specific. So that would be hard. I mean, like it's really difficult to see, right? Yeah. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I mean, like, if you look at, like, some of the political parties, you can kind of align and you can kind of, like, take a guess at what some of them are going to have in opinions. Like, maybe conservatives are going to be, say, more lower on taxes in general, less government, which is typically the conservative stance, where liberals may be a little bit traditionally higher on tax. But then again, I don't think that they would do anything like increase capital gains. So I think our immediate focus on this election would be more so maybe what's going to happen to our tax brackets and stuff like that. But I don't think we're going to see any dramatic crypto legislation come out of it. I could be completely wrong, and I'm going to wait with bated breath to hear what some of the parties do say about cryptocurrencies and kind of see from there. I mean, there's a lot going on with this election. There's a lot going on. The fact that it's a snap election too. Yeah, I'm not as knowledgeable in terms of the three main political parties because I really don't consider like Green Party or the Bloc or anyone like a valid party that we would vote for, because I mean, like, what, the Green Party got like 14% of the vote, I think, and then like the Bloc like got like 5. Nothing against Quebec or anything, but screw the Bloc. But that is what it is. There you go. There's a little insight to my political ideology. I try to be as neutral as possible. But it's hard to be neutral in this time of age. It definitely is. We're gonna get close here to wrap it up, but we're gonna take a couple of questions. If anyone has any questions, we're gonna go over the crypto market in general again. To go through. Now, again, if you're like super concerned about regulations, and I've considered things of like moving outside of Ontario specifically, I think I've kind of come to terms with maybe that won't happen for me, mainly because I see, okay, there are other exchanges that are still operating within Ontario. Not every exchange is leaving. I don't think this is an OSC specific thing where, yes, the OSC is cracking down, but is this, are exchanges like Binance and KuCoin, are they hopping out of the market because of the OSC or because they can't personally meet the regulations? Because I still use Kraken. I still have a lot of exchanges that have a lot of other tokens. Why can those exchanges do it and not Binance? That tells me that there's an issue with Binance and KuCoin, not an issue with the OSC. I mean, like, yeah, there's issues with our Ontario regulators. Of course. I hated the last administration in terms of the Liberal administration with Kathleen Wynne. She was arguably one of the worst people in place for our hydro costs. And then again, Ford arguably was doing some crappy stuff before the pandemic. And then the pandemic came and he kind of did good at the first part, kind of did good in the first half, and then just like said fucking in the next half and opened way too early that he should have. So, but I guess it is what it is. I guess that's it from me. So hopefully everyone enjoys your weekend, your Saturday. I'm gonna probably go clean up, get into the gym a little bit later, and kind of relax for the day. But hopefully, you're not looking at cryptocurrency prices and freaking out in any way, or you're not bothered by it. I think my biggest advice for anyone in cryptocurrency is stop getting so emotionally tied to to your crypto. So it is confirmed that KuCoin isn't available in Ontario. So let me see, because I've heard rumors, right? But I don't know if I've actually gotten a confirmation, and I have stuff on KuCoin, so it is Ontario, because so Ontario regulators, so they're taking action against KuCoin. Is KuCoin Ontario SEC kicks ass, takes names? Okay, well, that's stupid. I think they're just taking actions against KuCoin, but it doesn't sound like KuCoin has done anything yet to remove users or stop producing users. So a series of articles have been published around June 9th stating that KuCoin may be removed from Ontario. So it may be removed, but I think the big issue here is KYC, know your customer, and anti-money laundering laws, which a lot of people complain about. I hear a lot of complaints about this. Now, I work in the insurance industry, so I am very, very aware of, say, anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist funding. When you have those laws in place, that directly helps you understand where the money is coming from. So we wouldn't sell an insurance policy to someone that just has a crap ton of money and no income, right? You're getting that money from somewhere, and we need to know that it's not gotten from ill-gotten gains, which is a big deal, which is, I think, a lot of what the OSC is cracking down on. Hopefully KuCoin can just be compliant. So I think that's still up in the air, whether or not KuCoin's truly going to be available. But I know Binance is at least confirmed, and KuCoin's kind of like an open question. So I don't know yet, quite yet, Natural. But I'll keep an eye on it, because obviously I have some assets on KuCoin as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, because it's BPro. So I'm going to have to look at where I can home that BPro, whether it be on my MetaMask or something. But that's it for me, guys. Hopefully you all enjoy your weekend and take it easy. I'll see you guys next Saturday, 11 a.m. Go Bitcoin. See you guys.